energy forecast for Wednesday, August 28th. Okay, so we have the moon in Gemini energy going void, of course, at 3:14 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're locking into Cancer energy, the moon's rulership, at 4:48 a.m. Now, heads up, the transition from Gemini energy to Cancer energy is always felt. We're moving out of the head space, down into the heart space. The Cancer energy, again, very attached to the past, very, I'm going to say, more defensive and protective than anything else. And we're definitely more introverted. We're pulling back. We want to stick to what is tried, tested, true, what is familiar, what brings us a sense of safety and security. We want to stick to our home environment, meaning we're not really going out in the world and trying new things. We tend to seek comfort and familiarity, whether it be people, places, or things. We want to give ourselves a new foundation for us to feel comfortable in, especially where our emotions have been choppy as F as of late, and where it is that we're coming into a new understanding, a new perspective of where it is that, emotionally speaking, we need to be operating from. Creating boundaries, protecting thyself, and really just gaining a lot more stability in our emotional realm. So, of course, we have Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves, coming out of his retrograde, going direct here today at 21 degrees in Leo energy. There's an astro forecast for this particular event. Take a listen to the August energy forecast for your zodiac sign to understand where this energy is popping off. And of course, have your Virgo season e-guide available and capture the topics and themes going on at this present moment, because we are going to be working on this, really resolving some issues as we move into September. This is also the last day that Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, will be in Virgo energy. She moves into her rulership here on the 29th, meaning she's moving into Libra energy. We are definitely going to feel a totally different mood, different attitude take over. But again, may I remind you, anytime that we are wrapping up a particular zodiac cycle for any planet, any luminary, there's always an intensity for us to look back. If you need to go ahead, take a listen to Venus's time in Virgo energy to see how this transit stacked up for you. I'm going to recommend you do that as well. So there are 10 different aspects popping off here today. 7 of them are going to involve the moon. While the moon is still in Gemini energy, again, piquing our curiosity, helping us to process, analyze, reframe a lot of the situations gone by, the moon in Gemini is going to get into the boxing ring with first Venus and then Neptune. So this is an interesting dynamic because, of course, a square means that there's tension and conflict because we're going through growing pains, but we're just not there yet. Some adjustments need to be made that we're just not prepared to kind of do right now. And the friction, the tension is being illuminated so that we, again, can realize where we're resisting these changes and where it is that we kind of have to boss up and push through this particular energy blockage. So the moon in Gemini energy and Venus in Virgo energy, we are definitely at odds with what it is that we think we need, we think we want, we think we desire. Again, the moon in Gemini energy taking a much more logical, practical approach to taking a good look at our emotions, what is working, what is not, what we're being challenged with, and what it is that we want to overcome. Venus, on the other hand, in Virgo energy, still analyzing, still critiquing, still kind of reevaluating what isn't working, what it is that we could do better, where it is that we have room for improvement, to make ourselves happy, to bring a sense of peace and harmony and joy to our lives, to bring a sense of safety, security, and stability back into our physical realms. But our heart and our head not on the same page, thus the tension, thus the conflict, where our head space is telling us one thing and our heart space is telling us another. The square with Neptune going to be a different type of vibe. Of course, this is very indicative that the moon is now at the final degrees of this Gemini energy because Neptune is retrograde at the final degrees of Pisces energy, thus the interaction. Now, in this particular situation, this is going to bring on a level of confusion, mostly because the moon in Gemini, again, operating from logical, practical intellect. Neptune retrograde in Pisces energy is all about the emotions and the intuition. And sometimes we can't make sense of how we feel. We can't make sense of our intuitive insights. And sometimes, even though we have certain matter of facts down on paper, it doesn't feel right. So this is essentially getting into the boxing ring, fighting it out between our heart and our head, between our ego selves and our higher selves, between what makes sense on paper and what feels right to our heart and soul. It's at this particular point in time, 3:14 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, that the moon goes void of course. This means that things are shaky, things are uncertain, adding to the level of confusion that, again, the moon squaring off with Neptune is going to create for us. We lock into the Cancer energy at 4:48 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just a couple of minutes later, we have our very first aspect with the moon now in her rulership in Cancer energy, which unfortunately for us is not a positive one. It is a very harsh interaction with Pluto, the great transformer who is retrograde in Aquarius energy, highlighting the power struggle between ego self, higher self, old self, new self, inner realm, outer realm, and the power struggles that we're currently having with identifying where it is that we got to get of our own way. That Aquarius energy is very visionary, thinking about the future. A lot of the reason why this is a harsh aspect is because the moon in Cancer energy doesn't want to think about the future. We orient to the past. So there's a very, very large gap between where it is that we're at emotionally speaking, again, attached to the past, romanticizing the past, replaying the past. Again, Mercury's going direct here, so there is still a reflection. There is still an element of confusion, of reframing, restructuring old events, especially where pain and trauma is concerned. It's not going to feel good. Pluto intensifies everything, especially the not so nice thoughts and feelings, in order for us to flip the script and actually flip it in a more favorable way, a more empowering way. But we're definitely going to have to sit in the funk before we're able to actually lift those vibrations and frequencies into something lighter. Now, we sit in that funk for quite some time, okay? This pops off at 4:56 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 2:08 p.m., we have our next aspect, which is a super helpful one. The moon in Cancer, going to make a positive interaction with Chiron, the wounded healer, who is retrograde in Aries energy. This tells me that whatever funk we were sitting in, wherever it is that we were looking back, romanticizing, being nostalgic, if you will, we are kind of through with that. Again, we're rapidly processing events here, rapidly restructuring and making those adjustments to our heart and our head to reframe it in a much better way. And therefore, we are healing at an accelerated rate. The Chiron energy, again, being aspected in a positive way, is about healing more than it is opening up old wounds. We're starting to see our ability to grow, to heal. We're seeing our ability to boss up. We're seeing our ability to empower thyself. The moon in Cancer energy, then going to sextile the sun in Virgo energy. So anytime that the moon and the sun are coming together, there's going to be an aha moment on what we need to do, what we need to grow, what we need to pursue. It's an emotional awareness of what we want, need, and desire. The moon, again, in this Cancer energy, we just want to feel safe and secure, especially in our emotions that have been ever changing as of late. And the sun shining a bright light in this Virgo energy is showing us where it is that we have to kick some bad habits to the curb, where we have to flip that mental narrative, that inner dialogue, that inner script into something more powerful, something that lends us a little bit more control, if you will. The Virgo energy wants us to do better, wants us to be better, wants us to improve. So this is definitely going to kind of illuminate where it is that we have to build something. Maybe a better routine, maybe a better emotional disposition, maybe a better narrative to help us kind of avoid from getting sucked back into past pain, past trauma, and again, help us heal the physical form, the physical environment, and the mental plane. Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money. She is nearing the final degrees of this Virgo energy, which means that she comes into direct opposition. She's sitting directly across from Neptune, who of course is retrograde in Pisces energy. The Virgo energy, the Pisces energy, they share the axis of healing. The Virgo energy focuses in on the physical realm, the physical body, the mental plane, while the Pisces energy is the metaphysical realm, everything outside of the physical form, which includes our emotions, our intuition, our spirituality. Now, this opposition is no joke. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus, and when they're at each other in an opposition, it does not feel good. First of all, there's going to be a certain level of confusion. There's going to be a certain level of maybe even disappointment because our expectations are now being challenged. We could feel defeated. We could feel down on ourselves. We could feel like we're only orienting to the problems, which of course the Virgo energy has us do so that we can fix them, heal them, repair them. There's a lot of uncertainty that comes up, especially with our happiness. When it comes to relationships, when it comes to our day-to-day lives, when it comes to our long-term goals. There's a lot of uncertainty that is definitely being triggered and activated, especially in the area of life where, again, romance, money matters, and long-term goals and visions are concerned. This is going to definitely throw a wrench into our emotional, let's call it, attempt to find peace, harmony, and balance. We are going to be focused on all the things that are not working, all the things that are dysfunctional, all the things that we feel are creating this ripple effect of chaos throughout our lives. This is where we almost need to kind of reframe what it is that we're focused on, reframe the narrative, flip the script in order for us to feel empowered, to feel more in control. We're definitely more real and raw and vulnerable, emotionally speaking, with this influence. We could definitely try to talk ourselves out of some of the things that we felt very sure about and vice versa. And we could also start kind of talking a little bit of smack to ourselves, kind of beating ourselves up and breaking ourselves down type of thing. Now, let me also just say that with Mercury kind of standing still in the background here, there is a lot of indecision. There is a lot of jitteriness. There is a lot of back and forth cha-cha-cha. So let's not be too hard on ourselves. There's a lot going on. Speaking of Mercury, the moon in Cancer energy going to semi-square Mercury, who again is standing still. He's been in a retrograde. He's coming out of his unconscious slumber. He is slowly but surely trying to wake up, but at this particular point in time, still in this retrograde position. The moon is our heart space. Mercury is our head space. They're not on the same page. They're at each other. Why? Well, because it's a confusing time. The moon is in her rulership in Cancer energy, again, looking back, holding on to the old. Mercury, yes, is looking back as well, but he's bold and brave and courageous in his heart space to make a major change, to break away from looking back and actually start moving on and moving forward. 5:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Mercury will station direct. Now, we're not moving fast, okay? Again, listen to the forecast. If you feel increased pressure in your head, please listen to the ascension forecast for this week to understand why and to kind of calm it, if you will. Mercury going direct. It's going to take some time. We are just standing still. It is like you were drugged, okay? It's like you had a hard night out. And the next day you're finally coming to, but it takes a little bit of time to actually sit up and orient to what has been going on. It takes a little bit of time to clear the sleep out of your eyes, if you will, and to start piecing together what actually happened while you were having the time of your life. And I say that with laughter because a Mercury retrograde is never usually fun. But Mercury is now stationed direct, and slowly but surely, we will start seeing some progress in moving forward. The moon in Cancer energy, then going to get into the boxing ring and square off with the North Node in Aries energy. So again, the North Node in Aries energy, trying to get us on the right path, trying to get us to move forward, trying to make us more independent, trying to get us to move into new foreign territory. So obviously there's going to be a square here. There's going to be tension. There's going to be conflict because we're going through growing pains. The moon in Cancer energy is looking back. The North Node in Aries energy is looking forward. Right? So there's a clash for our attention. There's a clash for our energy. There's a clash for our emotions. We don't really want to think about moving on and moving forward. We would rather just find contentment, peace, harmony in this present moment. And in anything, we want to continue to look back at the things that we're moving away from. The last thing that we have going on here today is the sun in Virgo energy, making a beautiful interaction with Pluto, the great transformer, who of course is retrograde in this Aquarius energy. Now, we love Virgo energy and Pluto energy working together. Why? Because the Virgo energy rules over the lower level intellect. It's how our ego taps into our mental plane, how we form thoughts and opinions about the world around us. Pluto, on the other hand, does a deep dive in the psyche, really unearthing the seeds that were planted early in our childhood, where we've built our programming, our conditioning. And so the ability here, first of all, to have the sun shine a very bright light in this Virgo energy, and Pluto really turn the intensity up on where it is that, again, our mental plane is kind of still attached to some not so nice narratives that are going to block us from kind of moving on, moving forward. This is going to kind of show us where it is that those bad seeds have to be plucked out of our psyche, or we have to flip our script in order for us to have a better narrative, a better dialogue, for us to see the aspects in our physical realm, again, sun shining in the Virgo energy, physical realm, where it is that we can make some improvements, especially in considering where it is that we would like to end up, what we have the power and control over in this present moment to actually tweak, to actually adjust. This is going to be a major shift in our mood, in our attitude, again, kind of honing in on the parts of our lives that we actually have the ability to change and transform in the here and now.